Star Toyota presents Off the Bench with Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn.
Let's go, baby, let's go!
From a championship backfield to your morning drive.
Hands to Hester, and Hester, yep, got it, 5 out of 5.
You're locked in to Off the Bench.
Flynn is back to throw from the end zone. Boom!
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, here's Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn.
Yo!
I'm not doing that.
All right.
It's not.
No.
I'm not
no
doing
yo.
it. No.
All right. Vibes are high this morning here on OTB, guys.
I'm not going to do it.
Taylor Shough here with you one more time. Jacob Hester, Matt Flynn, not back quite yet. They needed one more day off. They will, I have been told, almost 90% certain at this point, they will be back tomorrow. We will find out probably sometime this afternoon. But Taylor Shough here with you, hanging out the rest of the morning with you. And we got a lot to talk about. I mean, we got New Orleans Saints. They got a new contract done over the weekend, a big-time contract that had to get done before the start of training camp, which will occur on Wednesday. We're going to talk some LSU football news as SEC media, or the media that was out there at SEC Media Days, I should say, put out their list of first team, second team, third team, like all SEC teams. I have a lot of issues with it. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. We got Devin Snow in his normal spot at 9 a.m. We had a big weekend out there in New Orleans. And then we'll have Ross Jackson at 8:30 hopping on to preview a little bit of Saints training camp, which, of course, I just mentioned is starting on this Wednesday. You heard Alondra there a little bit earlier. My guy Paul O'Neill over here on the video board having to pull a double. Paul's going to be here till about 7 o'clock tonight. How we feeling? Vibes high, vibes low? We somewhere in the middle? How we doing? You got a long one today.
We're somewhere in the middle as of right now.
Okay.
Ask me that at like 4 or 5 o'clock tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
When you got 1 hour to go on AFR, it's like you got 1 hour left, but you've been here for like 12 hours at that point. It's bad vibes. When I saw you send that text when Matt was like, hey, I need somebody to fill in on video because Taylor has to host, and you were the one to respond, be like, I can do it. I was like, oh, man. My guy Paul in for a long one. Look, we've all been there. As I mentioned, we got a jam-packed show today. So right now, let's get this show started.
It's time to get glowing, courtesy of GoFlow IV Spa, where hydration, vitamins, and a summer-ready glow are always on tap. Now, for starters.
Okay, so it was the big story of the weekend here in the state of Louisiana. Look, when rookies are finalizing their deals, traditionally only first-round picks get a fully guaranteed deal. Well, earlier in the offseason, Jaden Higgins, the Texans wide receiver, he got a fully guaranteed deal. Carson Swessinger, the linebacker out of UCLA, he got a fully guaranteed deal as well. Now, they were the top two picks of the second round, so it led to a little bit of a holdout from a lot of second-round rookies. And Tyler Shough didn't have a contract as of this weekend. Well, that has all changed. The New Orleans Saints and rookie quarterback Tyler Shough have agreed to terms on a 4-year contract worth $10.795 million, fully guaranteed. Of course, Adam Schefter reported this on Saturday. He said they agreed to the full contract. At pick number 40, Shough is the last player selected in the 2025 draft to secure a fully guaranteed deal. So as I just mentioned, normally it's the first round pick, right? It's the top 32. Maybe this sets a precedent to where, hey, that top 40, because Shough was at 40. Maybe that top 40 going forward will get that guaranteed money. Of course, they did this year. The contract also includes an annual roster bonus structure where Shough will receive the majority of his compensation each year up front during the first week of training camp. So it's nothing new here. The Saints are kind of tinkering with the contract, trying to find the best way to get the player the money that they believe they deserve and to help them out in the cap situation. I got Ross Jackson actually on LouisianaSports.net put out a really interesting article. Obviously, he linked Adam Schefter's tweet, but he mentioned, look, typically a roster bonus, the guaranteed amount of money that is contingent upon a player being on the roster at a designated time. No details on what it's going to look like, what amount of money they're going to get, but Ross said in those circumstances, bonuses kick in during the same year. And he even put an example, like if a player is on the roster at a date ahead of the 2026 training camp and their 2026 bonus kicks in, otherwise teams work ahead, that would mean guaranteeing a 2027 bonus on a date later in 2026. So a lot of jargon there, but look, it doesn't matter how this deal got done. It doesn't matter fully guaranteed, not fully guaranteed. Like, what matters is that it did get done, because training camp is starting up in just a few days, and you're not going to want to have Spencer Rattler out there taking all the first team reps by default. Now, at the end of training camp, if Rattler separates himself, then that's fine. Let him take all the first team reps. But I want Shough and Rattler out there both battling for that quarterback one spot, because it's good for all involved. Competition makes you better. And look, again, if Rattler indeed wins this job, I don't want it to be by default. I don't want him to say, oh, well, Shough's a camp holdout. The contract dispute's going on. He's behind the 8 ball a little bit. He had some catching up to do being a rookie anyways. We're going to have to wait, and maybe start in week 4, week 5, week 6 of the season because he's not up to speed. Well, that's no longer the case. Like, you want to see and you need to see how the Saints offense flows with both guys. The more options, the better, is how I've always looked at it. Like, you look at camps across the country right now. Like, there's a lot of rookie quarterbacks battling for jobs, but all of them were scheduled to be at camp. The one we were wondering about was Tyler Shough. He's going to be there. Spencer Rattler is going to be there. Obviously, those are the top 2 guys, but look, Jake Hayner's in the mix. You see Hunter Decker's right here on the picture behind me. There are 4 guys out there. You want as many guys as possible because this is a revamp. Like, you brought in Kellen Moore to build the offense the way he wanted to. He felt comfortable enough spending a top 40 overall pick on Tyler Shough. Clearly, that's the guy that he would like to run his offense. Now, Shough's still going to have to earn the job. He's not going to come in and say, hey, I drafted you high. You're the guy I want to go with. Go out there even though you've struggled in camp. He still has to earn the job. But the fact that he's going to be out there with the contract negotiations behind him, fully bought in, ready to go in camp, that tells me that he's fully bought in. I'm excited about this. As far as who wins the battle, I don't know. I mean, look, I just laid out that Shough was the guy that Kellen Moore drafted, right? That Doug Nussmeier wanted in the building as well. That's the guy that they targeted. And I know what you're saying. Oh, well, they could have drafted a Jackson Dart in the first round or anything like this. There were reports early on, like 2 months before the draft, that Tyler Shough was a name to keep an eye on for the New Orleans Saints. So it's not one of those things where, the top guys on our board were taken. We kind of waited till 40 and kind of took whatever was left. Shough was a guy that was really, really high on the Saints board. This is a guy that they like. I kind of think that gives him an advantage. Now, obviously, Spencer Rattler has the experience in the league because he had been there a year before, but he wasn't a full-time starter. Now, he got a lot of starts and he played a lot just because Derek Carr was injured for the entire year. The entire offense was injured for the entire year. Again, Rattler has the advantage being in his second year, but Tyler Shough's not your normal rookie. Everyone loves to point out, oh, man, Tyler Shough's old. He's 25 years old, which I've always thought is stupid. Like, yeah, he's a quarterback. He's not a running back. Like, if Tyler Shough comes in, works out, becomes your starting quarterback for the next decade, one, he's only 35 years old at that point, and quarterbacks are playing well into their 40s now. And secondly, no one's going to care how old the guy was when you drafted him if he's your starting quarterback for the next decade. Because if he's your starting quarterback for the next 10 years, well, then it worked out wonderfully being there at the 40th overall pick. You grabbed your future franchise quarterback. Olave appears to be healthy right now. We'll see the health of Rashid Shaheed, but right now, the Saints are about as healthy as they can be going into camp. And I understand they don't have a lot of top-tier guys. There's not any guys out there you're like, hey, these guys are going to be all-pro. The Saints roster is loaded. You have Olave, you have Rashid Shaheed, you have Brandon Cooks. That's a decent 3. Now, I'm not sure you have a bona fide number 1, but all 3 of those guys can play. Cooks a little bit older. Rashid and Olave have had some injury issues, but when they're all 3 fully healthy and ready to go, they're talented players. And last year, you had no depth behind Alvin Kamara. When Kamara needed a breather, you had Kendre Miller, who was hurt and wasn't playing. You had Jordan Mims, who just didn't give you a whole lot of production anyways. Now, behind Alvin Kamara, you have Devin Neal, who, by all accounts, this staff loves. They drafted in the 6th round out of Kansas. You still have Kendre Miller. If he can stay healthy, a lot of people are still high on him. You signed Clyde Edwards-Helaire halfway through the year last year because you were so injured. He's still out there at camp. You just brought in Cam Akers. Now, that's 2 Achilles injuries, but he's a year and a half removed from that second one. Can he get back into form? He's a guy that meant a lot to a Los Angeles Rams team that won the Super Bowl. During that playoff run, you saw a lot of Cam Akers. He's been in some big-time moments. He's produced in big-time moments. The offensive line is another one. Like, the offensive line was a straight-up liability last year. That's why Carr was hurt. That's why all your running backs behind Alvin Kamara were hurt. The offensive line was shaky. You bring in Kelvin Banks. It looks like he's going to slide right in there to left tackle. Eric McCoy, in my opinion, one of the best centers in all of football. Taliesin Fuaga likely sliding over to right tackle. Then you move Trevor Penning to guard. You still have Cesar Ruiz, who has been shaky at times, but that's still a guy who you spent a first-round pick on just a few years ago. Can you finally get him some protection between McCoy and the tackle on the other side of him? Maybe try to get as much as you can out of a Cesar Ruiz. So between Banks, Ruiz, McCoy, Trevor Penning, who I hope can work out at that guard spot, and then Taliesin Fuaga at right tackle, I'm not saying this offensive line is going to be best in the league. I'm not saying they're going to be a top 5 unit in the league. Can they be serviceable? Can they be stable? Can they stay healthy and all play together? If you can get any of that, you're in a lot better shape than you were a year ago. We'll see how the quarterback battle shakes out, but with Tyler Shough's contract in the rearview mirror, you got him, you got Spencer Rattler battling it out for QB1, and as a whole, you're pretty healthy overall heading into training camp. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we get back, the SEC media, to wrap up media days, this broke about noon on Friday, put out their all-SEC team and projected order of finish. We're breaking it down next here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right, go to BoudreauxElectrical.com. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. More power, more protection. Get your free Generac quote right there, top right corner of the website. They'll come out and they will kind of look at your space, tell you exactly where they can put your whole home generator that's going to give you the ultimate peace of mind. Hurricane season is a-coming. We know it's going to happen here in South Louisiana, but you have that protection that we talk about when you have a whole home generator, because you will never have a power outage, right? You'll have your AC, you'll have your lights, you'll have your refrigerator. Everything will be okay. You'll have your TV. But if you don't call them, you won't have that ultimate peace of mind. Go to BoudreauxElectrical.com.
Yeah, we already have some name storms popping up right now. So you know the Gulf of America is going to be heating up here pretty soon in the next couple of weeks. So get protected, be stress-free. Give them a call today. That Generac generator, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
From players to legends, Hester and Flynn break down LSU football like only champions can.
Welcome back in. Monday edition of Off the Bench. Taylor Shough sitting in for Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn. The guys will be back tomorrow for sure. We do have confirmation on that. Mentioned it a little bit there going into break. On Friday, to wrap up SEC Media Days, a list came out that all the media that was out there at SEC Media Days put out their all-SEC team and the projected order of finish. Right now, I want to look at the all-SEC team because I have some major issues with it. When you look at the defense, we'll start there first. LSU has one guy. It's Whit Weeks on the first team at linebacker. Makes a lot of sense. Weeks was excellent last year. If he's fully recovered from that ankle injury that he suffered in the bowl game, then I have no reason to believe that Whit Weeks is not going to be awesome this year as well. Now, the second team, you have one guy as well. Linebacker Harold Perkins. Again, makes sense. You can't put him first team because of the injuries we've seen the last couple of years, but word is they're moving him to the star position full time. I think he's going to thrive there. That's a chance for him to move around. He can cover receivers out of the backfield. He can still rush the passer off the edge. He can still play inside if you need him to. That star position allows Harold Perkins to be very versatile. It frees him up in the Blake Baker defense. I like that. With your specialist, Barian Brown makes second-team returner. Xavier Thomas makes second-team all-purpose. I'm good with that until you see who's in front of them. Like Zachariah Branch from Georgia made first team in both of those categories, so he's first-team returner and first-team all-purpose. I got to be honest. I don't know where the hype around Zachariah Branch is coming from. I know how it started. I don't know why it's continued. So if you remember 2 years ago, opening game of 2023, USC, and I forget who they were playing, but Zachariah Branch, true freshman, first college game, had a punt return for a touchdown and caught a long pass for a touchdown, and people lost their minds. The hype train has not slowed down since. Okay, but during that 2023 season, he had 320 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and then in the return game, he had 300 yards, a punt return, just 1 return touchdown. That's his only return touchdown in 2 years. People talk about Zachariah Branch all the time being this dynamic playmaker. He has 1 return touchdown in punts, 1 on kickoff. Like, that's pretty good, but, I mean, we had heard about Barry Brown and the records that he had set at Kentucky. He has so many returns in big-time moments. Like, Barry Brown has to be first team on this list. And then when you look at the receiving numbers, a 2-year total for Zachariah Branch, 823 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's in 2 full seasons. I get that we saw Zachariah Branch on a big stage early in his career and he performed well. He hadn't done a whole heck of a lot since then. And it's been 2 years. We got to slow down on the Zachariah Branch hype train. So if any of you listen to our station after AFR, the Chuck Oliver Show normally comes on. I love the Chuck Oliver Show because I'm a football nerd, but I understand, everybody's going to have certain opinions. This was about 2 weeks ago. Whoever was filling in for Chuck Oliver, I don't remember the guy's name. But the point of it was he had a Georgia beat reporter on, and they were chatting back and forth about the Bulldogs. And whoever the guy was filling in for Chuck Oliver goes, look, Georgia hadn't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Brock Bowers like 2 or 3 years ago. I think that's going to change. I think Zachariah Branch is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Why? You have a first-year starting quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. You don't have a ton of weapons around him. Your running game, what's that going to look like? Like, how is Zachariah Branch going to get to 1,000 yards? He would have to double his production from a year ago. 503 yards exactly a year ago. That's his best season in college football. How is Zachariah Branch going to get to 1,000 yards? I don't see it. It's hype because you've seen the flashes in big moments, but the consistency has not been there for 2 years now. Going back to it, Barry Brown, Xavier Thomas, second team in returner and all-purpose yards, respectfully. On the offensive side of the ball, Aaron Anderson, Caden Durham, and Garrett Nussmeier all made second team. Anderson, Durham, I'm good with. Anderson over 800 yards last season. He wound up being your leading receiver in terms of yards. And then Caden Durham exploded after about week 3 or 4. Like, he wound up being your running game and kind of carrying you through the rest of the season. I expect him to take a leap forward. I'm good with both of those guys being second team All-SEC. Why is Garrett Nussmeier on the second team? I'm going to continue to bring this up until it changes. Garrett Nussmeier is the leading returning passer in all of college football, meaning nobody starting at quarterback this year in college football threw for more yards than Garrett Nussmeier did a year ago. Nobody. It is funny. Matt Musso came up to me Friday afternoon because it's when the list came out. He goes, hey, guess who's first team All-SEC quarterback? I'm like, all right. You came up to me and you're asking me this. It means it's not Garrett Nussmeier, which is already ridiculous. I was like, I don't know. Is the Arch hype train exploding? He's like, no, it's not Arch. I was like, a lot of people like DJ Lagway. I still need to see a lot, but there's a lot of hype around DJ Lagway. No, it's LaNorris Sellers from South Carolina. Okay. LaNorris Sellers did some nice things last year. But when you look at Sellers versus Nuss by the numbers, LaNorris Sellers, 65%, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. Garrett Nussmeier, 4,000 yards passing, 29 touchdown passes, but he did have 12 interceptions. I mean, Nuss almost doubled his yardage total. Now, everybody's going to say, okay, well, you got to take into consideration LaNorris Sellers' ability to run. Sure, that's fine. I did that. LaNorris Sellers, passing and rushing combined, 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns. Garrett Nussmeier still has him beat by almost 1,000 total yards of offense and 7 touchdowns when you take into consideration the 3 touchdowns Nuss had on the ground. It's not really close. And then everyone's going to say, like, I don't remember who it was, but Matt Moscona at SEC Media Days had interviewed one of the SEC media guys out there, and they said, oh, well, LaNorris Sellers is going to be my first team All-SEC QB. And when Matt asked why, he said, I can't get the Clemson game out of my head. He went on the road. He beat Clemson late in the year. He was excellent. That game was 17-14. LaNorris Sellers did not throw a touchdown pass. Like, again, that game was 17-13. It's not like he went out there and lit up the scoreboard. Now, in Sellers' defense, before that game, I mean, he had a really good 4-game stretch. So before the game against Clemson, he threw for 244, 238, 353, and 307. Multiple touchdown passes in both those games. That was great. A&M, Vandy, Missouri were 3 of those games. Now, the last one was Wofford, but it doesn't matter. That's still a good sample size. But against Clemson, 164 yards passing, no touchdowns, and a pick. Now, he ran for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I have major question marks on LaNorris Sellers' ability to throw the football. Go back and watch the South Carolina-Alabama game. In the fourth quarter, South Carolina is going down the field to win the game. If LaNorris Sellers hits a wide open man in the back of the end zone that he wound up airmailing, South Carolina beats Alabama, and they should have won that game. But he missed the easy throw. So you look at the Clemson game, okay, 164 through the air, no touchdowns and a pick. They lose the bowl game to Illinois. No, that was a good Illinois team, but 260 yards, a touchdown. And then they shut him down on the ground, which is why they ultimately lost that game. 11 carries for 19 yards. You're kind of starting to see the picture. When you shut him down and he no longer has the ability to run, he's limited as a passer. So the numbers from last season aren't even close. But I was like, okay, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're projecting to next season. When you project to next season, like, it's almost worse. And then also, going back to the end of last season, throw those numbers out the window. Because if you look at Garrett Nussmeier, when Chris Hilton was fully healthy, last 3 games of the year, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, the bowl game against Baylor. Garrett Nussmeier, 72% completion, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. When you finally had that deep threat to open up the offense. LaNorris Sellers did not have that. But if you're projecting to this year, I think the gap gets even larger. LSU's loaded with weapons. Yes, they lose Kyron Lacey. He made some big plays for you last year. Yes, you lose Mason Taylor, the best tight end in program history. Trey'Dez Green and Bauer Sharp, the combination of those two might actually give you more versatility than you had with Mason Taylor. You bring in Barry and Brown, Nick Anderson. You get Aaron Anderson back. Xavier Thomas is there. Chris Hilton's there. You just went to SEC Media Days. They're obviously expecting big things from him. Jelani Watkins has more speed than anybody out there if he could ever get on the field. Teron Francis was a high 4-star. Phillip Wright was a 4-star receiver. And these are guys that hadn't even stepped foot on the field yet. Kylan Billiott's out there. If Kyle Parker can bounce back from his injury, you get the point. LSU has a lot of weapons. And most of those guys I just mentioned have already made big plays for you. Who's South Carolina's top weapon? Like, if I ask the average football fan, name me South Carolina's number 1 receiver, they're not going to be able to do it. And everyone wants to say Nicholas Harbor. But I'm not sure that's true. Like, Nick Harbor is a 6'4", 235-pound freak that runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, and he hasn't done anything in college football. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of athleticism. He has done nothing. He's entering his junior season. So he's had 2 full years of football that he's already played. His best year was last season, where he had 376 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. That's it. You have Rocket Sanders in the backfield. You have LaNorris Sellers and their ability to run. That's fine, but find me the weapons that are going to help out LaNorris Sellers. Not only is Garrett Nussmeier a much better and much more polished passer than Sellers, I personally don't think it's close. The weapons and the guys around them that can help out their quarterback and make that guy better, it's not even close. So Nussmeier has the number advantage from a season ago by a lot. He has a lot more weapons, in my opinion, heading into the season. What am I missing here? Because, again, if you go by raw numbers, it's Garrett Nussmeier. If you go by what you're projecting in next season, I don't know how it's not Garrett Nussmeier there as well. To me, this screams laziness by the media. I mentioned when Matt had, I can't remember who it was. Matt had the guy on at SEC Media Days, and he said, I can't get the end of the season out of my head. Garrett Nussmeier ended his season better than LaNorris Sellers. So throw that out the window. And I understand LaNorris Sellers got hurt right before halftime in the LSU game. And if he doesn't, South Carolina likely wins that game. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, he did leave that game, and LSU did win that game. So LSU had the head-to-head over South Carolina a year ago. Whether they should have won it or not doesn't matter at this point. Nussmeier went on the road and beat South Carolina. He had 7 touchdowns and 1 pick through the last 3 games of the year. He has a ton of weapons coming in. LaNorris Sellers doesn't have any of those things. You lost the bowl game to Illinois, and then everyone wants to talk about how you dominated Clemson. It was 17-14. It was a defensive game. You ran for 166 yards. That's great. You threw for less than 170, threw a pick, and no touchdown passes. Like, I don't understand what I'm missing here with LaNorris Sellers. I think this is laziness by the media. I think it's recency bias because everyone wants to talk about Sellers late in the season. However, if you actually do your research and dig into the numbers, it shouldn't even be recency bias because Nuss was better at the end of the year. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we get back, we're going to continue to break this down. The SEC projected order of finish came out as well. I'll give you the top 3. Give you my thoughts on that next. You're on Off the Bench.
Off the Bench.
Pelican Roofing on the OTB squad. PelicanRoof.com is the website. Get that instant roof quote right there on the homepage of the website. It's going to pull up, type in your address, home business, gives you an outline of your roof and a great idea of what it would cost right there on the site. See the 5-star reviews on the homepage of PelicanRoof.com. So many 5-star reviews. Yelp, Facebook, Google. The internet hates everything. They love Pelican Roofing. Go check out those financing options as well, PelicanRoof.com.
Yeah, the internet does love Pelican Roofing, and for good reason, too. Quality work, customer service is second to absolutely nobody. And, yeah, we get it. Roof is a big deal. You might be a little bit nervous about calling and having to go through that, but give them a call. 0% financing for up to 21 months for qualified buyers. Check them out today in Lafayette, in Baton Rouge, PelicanRoof.com.
You could only see the way she loves me, then maybe you would understand why I feel this way.
Tigers turn talkers. This is Off the Bench.
All right, go to GoTommies.com, Geaux, Tommies with the Y.com. Tommy's windows, doors, and siding. You will clearly see the difference when you go to the website, and no matter what you're trying to get done. Now, you can find a gallery of work, testimonials of past clients, and so you're going to see what they've done in the greater Baton Rouge area. But the thing I always encourage you, have Tommy and the team come out, because about 6-8 months ago, I had them come out and like, hey, here's what I got going on. I really don't know what to do. I hadn't seen a lot of this. I'm like, oh, we'll come up with a plan. That's all I said. Like, we'll come up with a plan. They'll take care of it. They will customize your job to whatever your needs are at your home, at your business. GoTommies.com.
Yeah, Tommy's windows, sidings, and doors. The championship company ever since 2016 on the Angie's Award list. 2016 all the way to right now, 2025. Go check them out. See what they can do. Integrity, dependable, professional. And most importantly, when you're doing a job, you want somebody efficient. You want to get them in and out of your house and doing a great job. GoTommies.com.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 1 here on a Monday edition of Off the Bench. Taylor Sharp sitting in one more time for Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn. They are both out today, obviously, but they will be back tomorrow. Okay, the SEC projected order of finish voted on by the media that was out there in Atlanta last week has been revealed, and the Texas Longhorns get the most votes. They are projected to finish first coming up in the 2025 college football season. They are followed by Georgia, Alabama, LSU, then a big gap. I mean, like 500 votes all the way down to South Carolina at number 5. For what it's worth, it's so funny. We were talking on Friday about the teams we thought were going to be the worst. I picked Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi State. Well, apparently that wasn't a hot take. Bottom 3, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi State in that order. Vanderbilt right above them. I don't necessarily have a huge issue with Georgia, Texas, Alabama all being ahead of LSU, but I do want to point out that there are obvious issues with all 3 of these teams. It's almost refreshing looking at it and saying, hey, there's not one dominant team coming into the season where you look and you say, man, that team's going to steamroll everyone. All the other teams are fighting for second. You don't really have that. Because when you look at Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, their starting quarterback this year, started one game last year. Now, he played in the SEC championship against Texas, and he played well. I mean, they didn't ask him to do a ton. He went 10 of 16 for about 70 yards. But he played well. He almost got it done for him. And then he plays Notre Dame in the college football playoff, and he performed well as there despite the fact that they got the loss. So that's two defenses that were ranked in the top 5 a year ago. And Gunnar Stockton wasn't a disaster going in when he didn't have a ton of experience. He looked like he belonged. He has a full offseason as the starter in this program. I think he'll be fine, but there's still question marks there as well. Again, going back to the weapons on the offensive side for Georgia, they didn't have a ton last year. I mean, there's always a guy that's going to break out that we're not talking about preseason. I understand that it happens for every team. But right now, everyone believes it's going to be Zachariah Branch. I don't, just because we haven't seen it for 2 years out there at USC. Maybe it is. Maybe a change of scenery for Branch. He's going to play with his brother, Zion Branch, who's also at Georgia. Like, maybe the comfortability factor will help elevate his game. We'll see. Now, when you look at Georgia's schedule, I don't hate it. I mean, they open the season with Marshall at home August 30th. That's a win. You're going to play Austin Peay the next week. That's a win. You got 2 layups weeks 1 and 2. But then you go to Knoxville against Tennessee September 13th. We've talked a lot about Tennessee. The other day I listed them as probably my biggest disappointing team that'll finish the season in 2025, less than what people think. But Knoxville's still a tough place to play. You have to go to Neyland Stadium. That defense is still going to be really good. How's Gunnar Stockton going to perform in that environment? Georgia probably gets that win just because I trust Kirby Smart a heck of a lot more than I do Josh Heupel. But that's not an easy game. So you start with 2 easy ones. Then you have Tennessee. You have Alabama at home. I think there's question marks around them. We'll get to Alabama here in a second. So let's say you go 3-1. You lose to either Tennessee or Alabama. You take care of business in the first 2 games. Kentucky, that's a win. I think they're going to be terrible. You have to go to Auburn. I think they're going to be better than they were a year ago, but that's a win. You're sitting at 5-1. Ole Miss at home. I think you win that game. You're 6-1 at this point playing Florida in Jacksonville. That's going to be a tough game. That's a toss-up game for me. Even if you lose that game, you end with Mississippi State. That's a win. That puts you at 7-2. Now, Texas comes to Athens. That's the game that's going to define it. Because if Georgia has 2 losses by that point, they have to beat Texas to get into the playoff. If they only have 1 and they beat Florida, you can lose this game, no sweat, still hopefully make the playoffs. And then you close the season, Charlotte, Georgia Tech. There's some tough games on the back end, but you start with 2 easy ones, Marshall and Austin Peay. And then there's a little wiggle room in there as well. As far as Texas goes, the schedule as a whole is not that bad. But you may have the toughest opening game out of anybody in the SEC, maybe outside of LSU. You have to go to Columbus, Ohio on the road and play Ohio State week 1 of the season. I have said time and time again, I'm going to continue to say it. I think Ohio State wins that game. I think Texas starts the season 0-1. Not necessarily saying, Arch Manning is going to be a disaster on the road. I think Julian Sayin is going to be really good. He has a lot of weapons to throw to. That defense for Ohio State is still going to be good, and it's so hard to win in Columbus, especially when, it's your first start knowing you're the guy. It's your first big-time start. Arch made 2 starts a year ago. They weren't elite teams. I think Texas loses that game. But San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, all wins. You're 3-1 going to the Swamp. You take care of that. You're 4-1 heading into the Red River rivalry. I think you're a better team than Oklahoma. We'll see, but if you get that, you're 5-1. Then you got Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. I mean, you're winning all 3 of those. You have to play Georgia late in the season. Again, even if you lose that, you finish with Arkansas and Texas A&M. I think you're better than both of those teams. I don't hate Texas's schedule. Same with Alabama. You open with Florida State. It's tough on paper, but Florida State was awful a year ago. I don't know. They're going to have to be significantly better to win that game. Now, it is in Tallahassee, but I think the Crimson Tide win that. You'll beat ULM. I think you beat Wisconsin at home. Georgia's a tough one, but then you have Vandy, Missouri. How good are they going to be? Tennessee, but then South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. Alabama, by far, out of these three, in my opinion, has the toughest schedule. Because you're playing Georgia on the road, and then you're section there with three really tough teams, South Carolina and LSU being two of them. That's tough. But with Texas, look, Arch Manning, first year as a starting quarterback, that's tough. You lose Gunnar Helm, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden. Those are your top three receivers from a year ago. You did a good job in recruiting. Khalil Lockett, 5-star freshman. Jamie French, 5-star freshman. Both of those guys, this staff here in Baton Rouge, wanted badly. They choose the Texas Longhorns. Those guys could emerge. Could. We'll have to see it. Now, Quintravian Wisner, their running back, he's a stud. Love what I saw from him a year ago. But you lose a little bit of depth in that room as well. Jaden Blue, he plays for the Cowboys now. He was solid for you a year ago. I think Arch is going to be a good quarterback. I think he's talented enough, but he's stepping in first year as a full-time starter, losing a lot of weapons, and you have to play Ohio State on the road week 1. I think it's a tough ask to ask them to win that game. But the next three after that, you should win comfortably. For Alabama, I still got to get there with them. Ty Simpson was unable to beat out Jalen Milroe for 3 years, and I personally did not think Jalen Milroe was a very good quarterback. I think he was a very good runner. I think he struggled mightily in the passing game. And we saw Ty Simpson a little bit 2 years ago against South Florida when they pulled Milroe. It wasn't pretty. And he really hasn't played much since then. Stud wide receiver in Ryan Williams. Outside of him, there's a little bit of a question mark. Jam Miller's in the backfield, but he's a good SEC back. He hasn't shown the ability yet to be elite. Maybe he does, but that's not an elite Alabama weapon like you're used to seeing. Look, there's a lot of question marks around all these teams. And I'm not sitting here saying LSU is some juggernaut, but having an elite, proven talent at the quarterback position gives you an incredible advantage every single week. Now, will LSU win the SEC? I'm not going to sit here and say yes, like maybe, maybe not. Who knows at this point? But what they did do, they did a great job of filling their needs in the offseason. O-line is a huge question mark. There's no question about it. But you got a lot better at receiver. You got way better at DB. Like A.J. Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley were two big-time pickups at the safety position. You brought in DJ Pickett, the number one corner in America, as well as two transfers, Jackson and Mansour Delane. I think you're a lot deeper depth-wise on the defensive line. Now, we'll see, who overperforms, who underperforms on that line. But at least body-wise, you're a lot deeper than you were a year ago. And I think you're really good at linebacker. I mean, linebacker is a position on this team we don't talk about enough. You have Whit Weeks. You have West Weeks, who's done some solid things. Devon Keys looked like a stud at the end of the year. I think he's going to slide in there. And you have some talented young guys behind him, including the third Weeks brother, Zach Weeks. I think you're good at linebacker. Like, outside of offensive line, to me, there's not a ton of question marks, even at the running back position. Because you have Durham. Now, you lose Josh Williams. Caleb Jackson's back. You added Harlem Berry, the number one running back in the country. JT Lindsey was a high recruit as well. People kind of forget about him. That's 4 really, really talented running backs. 3 of them can all spell Caden Durham, who I think is going to get a lot better this year. Not saying LSU is going to win the SEC. I'm not saying that Texas, Alabama, and Georgia are going to be disasters because I think they'll all have good seasons. But there's question marks around all of these teams, including LSU. We'll see which team advances coming up this upcoming season. All right, we're going to take a quick time out. When we get back, UFC 318 out there in New Orleans. It was a classic, a heck of a fight. We're breaking it down next to close out hour number 1 here on Off the Bench.
Off the Bench.
Thing that I am most excited about seeing in the office is our brand new interactive whiteboard thanks to Gulf Coast Office Products. I cannot wait to break it down, watch a little tape, watch a little film, and we cannot thank them enough for donating that to us. Very excited for that. But there's so many different things that Gulf Coast Office Products can do for you. I mean, we always talk about it. I mean, the number 1 in the print game. It's not even close. Leader in the state of Louisiana. You're going to get a human being as well, Matt. And I know, look, you've got a business. You deal with this all the time. The ease of having one bill, no matter how many different machines you have with GCOP, that is just another luxury when you partner with them. GCOPnet.com.
Yeah, that's a good thing about them being a local company, but a big company now. That you get that personal service, you get that personal touch. Everything they do is absolutely top-notch. Why not choose Gulf Coast Office Products? Go see how they can help you. GCOPnet.com.
2007 champs, purple and gold to the core. This is Off the Bench with Hester and Flynn, Baton Rouge's go-to for all things Louisiana sports.
Well, it's not Off the Bench with Hester and Flynn today. They are both out. They will be back tomorrow. Tyler Shough sitting in the host chair for the next little bit over 2 hours right now. Hanging out with you here on this Monday morning. We got Alondra Villarreal and Paul O'Neill here as well. Okay, the big event of the weekend on Saturday night, UFC 318 out there in New Orleans. Look, it was the final fight for Dustin Poirier. He comes back to his home state. And my goodness, did they put on a heck of a show. Him, Max Holloway, just beating the crap out of each other. It goes the full distance. Ultimately, Max Holloway, not Dustin Poirier, does get the victory by unanimous decision. We were both kind of wrong on the show on Friday. I picked unanimous decision by Dustin Poirier, so what the hell do I know? But excellent fight all the way around. The two guys beat each other up. Alondra, you were actually in attendance at this fight, so we'll set the scene in just a second. But right now, was it the right choice? Should Holloway have won this fight?
Actually, yeah. I know I sent that text in the group chat, but I was just joking. And also, whenever we were talking about it, I was like, I want Dustin to win, but I didn't really give a pick because I kind of figured it was
Well, Dustin said it himself, right? You were saying he was like, 3 times is almost impossible against this guy.
Yeah. So he had already beat him twice. It is hard. They're both really good fighters. And, yeah, I think it was the right decision. Max looked better than him in almost every single round. So it was, yeah. It sucked that he didn't win, but despite that, the send-off was great.
Yeah.
The vibes were so high at the Smoothie King Center. I was getting chills the entire time I was there. They kept playing these video montages of him and his career in the UFC and his friends and family sending him video messages and stuff. And then everybody would just be cheering super loud. The vibes were super high inside the Smoothie King Center. So even though he lost, it was still a great way for him to go out. His last 2 fights just really solidified him. Even though he did lose the last 2, it just really solidified him as a great fighter, and he had a great career in the UFC. So great send-off for him, and it was also a really good way to end his career too, fighting Max Holloway.
Well, we talked about it Friday, right? A lot of these fighters, they'll have their big fight, and then their last 2 or 3 fights, they'll fight a middle tier, lower tier UFC fighter. We were giving credit to Dustin on Friday, hey, you're not going out quietly, you're fighting a guy who's a legit fighter, and in terms of because there's so many people oh, Dustin Poirier was robbed. I agree with you. I probably would have given it to Max Holloway.
I actually don't think he was, yeah.
But at the same time,
I don't think it was actually that close.
It's one of those fights, though, that, you could watch 3 different times and see something you missed the time before. It went the full distance. There was so much time in the octagon. There were so many things that were occurring. There was one round, I think it was the second, where I'm oh, Poirier's about to finish him. And then I'm no,
it was
about to finish
and then
Poirier.
he jumped the gilly, oh my gosh, yes.
They almost finished each other.
My guy lives and dies.
Yeah,
my guy lives and dies by the gilly. But
so set the scene for us. What was the overall? This was your first UFC fight.
Yeah,
right?
It was awesome.
What were the vibes like?
The vibes were so high, and this was. So I was telling y'all. I don't know where they put the media for UFC fights. I could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I go up. So the girl, whenever she gives me my credentials, she was like, okay, just go up there and you can go to the press ledge. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be in the press box, whatever. So then I go up there and the stuff that's on my credential isn't anywhere to be found.
Oh, where you're going?
I'm at. Yeah. I don't know why I just stumbled on my word. So I asked for help and they were like, oh, you're on the floor. And I was like, shut your mouth. And then I go down there and it was freaking awesome. I could, even the prelims, so I got there when the prelims started and it was just great. I can see their sweat flying off of each other when they were getting hit, and like I said, everybody was there to support Dustin, and a Louisiana boy ending his career in his home state, and people in Louisiana, just like everywhere else, love Louisiana. So it was awesome. And it was probably one of the best experience. So I think, are you playing it right now, Paul? There's a video Paul's playing right now of Dustin, like when he's leaving. I took that video. Like that's how close to him and like all the action that I was. So it was awesome and a great experience. And I think that in Omaha are like in my top 2 life experiences ever.
Well, like I imagine, like okay, people say this about hockey, and it's true. Like the TV viewing to in-person viewing is such a drastic change.
Yeah.
I imagine UFC's that times 10. Like watching UFC on TV, great. Like it's entertaining. You can sit there on your couch and cheer and everything. Being there in person, like you're hearing the walkouts, you're seeing the atmosphere, the lights and everything like that. Like I imagine that's got to be one of the biggest differences between like watching on TV and being there in person. And like, you know, the send-off for Dustin Poirier, though, is kind of where I want to focus right here with the last minute before we go to break. Like, I don't know if anybody out there listening, like, saw these videos. Like, Max Holloway's son went up to Dustin Poirier after the fight, taking pictures with him, congratulating him on a career. Like, Holloway was waiting for Poirier outside of his dressing room when he came out. He's like, dude, how the hell did we not win fight of the night? Like, we almost finished each other in the second round, and they're chatting about it. They're like,
should have won fight of the night.
Who got fight of the night over us? Like, you could tell that there's mutual respect between these two guys. Like, to your point, yes, like, in a perfect world, the result of the fight is different, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, in the end of it, it doesn't matter. This doesn't taint the resume or the reputation of Dustin Poirier. He's done enough up to this point. It doesn't elevate Max Holloway. He's done enough to this point anyways. Like, both of these guys were so established that, like, this was a fight to put on a show, and New Orleans showed up and showed out. By the way, highest number of money at the gate ever in the history of the Smoothie King Center, regardless of event. Concert, well, Pelicans game's not going to be in that number. Let's point that out right now. But anything, that was the highest total gate of any event in the Smoothie King Center. Like, you know, we talk about it all the time. Hey, it's great that they're doing this, but did they do enough to bring other fights in the future? I think they did. All right, that's going to do it for hour number 1 of Off the Bench. We're coming back. We got 2 hours left here on OTB.
Off the Bench.
It's not good when the old intro net is spinning and you're like, oh, we got to get that world clock going.
Yeah,
Switch to the phone and we got it working. It's okay. Just like K to Z is going to get you working. Interior, exterior, it does not matter. KTOZblinds.com is the website. Have Brandon Barton and his whole team come out to your space. It is one of the cool things about K to Z. Like Brandon Barton, who is the owner, he'll be there. Like he's going to be one of the guys oftentimes that is on the project saying, yeah, this is what you need. Let's go with this color. He's going to get like a booklet. It's going to like open it up to the perfect page. Here's what you need. Incredible service. KTOZblinds.com.
Yeah, functionality, but also like make your house just look more beautiful, look better. Financing options. Go to their brand new website, K to Z Interiors and Outdoor Living, KTOZblinds.com.